we have a privilege to be having one of the most unique people in Nigeria, and that's the person of Mr. Ebun-Olu Adegboruwa. Mr. Adegboruwa is a senior advocate of Nigeria and also a human rights lawyer. We want to say welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
It's my pleasure to be with you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. First off, Tunde is going to be asking you questions, then I will follow up with that today.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. And to start with, I think it is reasonable to as well appreciate our very good host, guest on the platform this evening for actually coming around to at least answer some few questions that we have on ground for him this evening. So to start with at this point, sir, I think I should just push this first question. My first question has to do with experience as someone who was actually part and parcel of a riverine rural area in Ondo State, which is Ilaje, the local government area of the state. Previously, you actually released a write-up where you explored most of those terrible experiences you had of your background, of your, community in Ilaje, the local government area of the state. So, sir, I just like to establish a connection between what you experienced as a young person and the situation of that place currently. Can you say there has been this kind of difference in the socio-political system, the environment? Would you say there has been an advancement in what you actually experienced as community, as Ilaje, the local government area of the state currently, considering the level of education, the advancement when it comes to, facilities in place, electricity, most of those things? Would you say there had been a difference compared to when you were there, sir?
Thank you so very much for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you. It is true that I grew up and I was born in the Ilaje local government area of Ondo State. And it's the peculiar area in terms of the terrain and the topography of the area. It's also similar to most other areas of the Niger Delta region in Nigeria. There are creeks, mostly waterlogged. There was no access, no transport, no electricity. We were just living a rural life. It was almost impossible to believe that we were sitting on top of gold in terms of oil and gas. So at the time we grew up, it was a totally neglected area. There was no presence of government. And it takes years and years for you to navigate from the community to urban areas. And I think the experience for me, looking back up to now, is that there's a failure of planning on the part of government in terms of ensuring that the rural areas are properly developed with infrastructure. Because unknown to many people, we didn't know that there was electricity in Nigeria. We didn't know anything about motor cars. We didn't have motorable roads. We were just existing as people in the Stone Ages. Whereas indeed there was development all over Nigeria at the time. So I think that what that throws for the government and those who are in authority is the need to develop the hinterlands so as to avoid the urban migration that we're experiencing. There's congestion in the main cities of Port Harcourt, of Lagos, of Benin, Abuja. And the reason is because there's no infrastructure to push economic development of the local areas. Otherwise, life is better in the communities. Life is better in the local areas in terms of ozone layer, climate change, in terms of capacity for people to live their life healthily, exercise, eat raw food, and live close to nature. So looking back now, I think that for me, except for the economic activities in the cities, I'll probably prefer that same life to what I'm currently experiencing in the city. Because indeed, we were close to nature, we were innocent, there was nothing like corruption, people shared love, You know, you move from your neighbor's place to your neighbor's house. There's no suspicion. And everybody was content to live with what they had. You eat the food that your parents give you. Everybody was obedient. Children were being trained by parents of other people, you know, and indeed there was that communal sense of development within the people that I think generally those times were things that we look forward to. Unfortunately, things have changed a lot. So if you compare what we go through now in the cities to what we went through in the hinterland, nothing has changed in those areas. I can still tell you that there's still no electricity in the place where I grew up to the time I speak with you now. And the single road that is there is not properly done, and it discourages people from traveling. And there are no infrastructure to push people to go back to the hinterland to develop. Because if there's functional road to my community today, I can from that place come to Lagos or attend court in Benin, attend court in Ondo, attend court. I can live in my village and carry out my practice successfully if there is functional infrastructure like electricity and good roads. So answering your question, I think that it's for our government to ensure that there is massive development of infrastructure in the local communities. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's just too beautiful, sir. And I want to appreciate you for such a wonderful and interesting answer to my question. My next question has to do with your person, the kind of initiatives you've consistently proven and that you've preached in so many platforms for so many years. One of them is the fact that the legal system should be used specifically to drive justice and for free. I want to ask you, sir, that how easy is driving justice for free without actually getting a penny in return? How easy has been this kind of leadership with people like you who have been human rights activists fighting for the right of the common people without getting financial compensations for most of those actions? How easy has it been?
Thank you so very much. I think your question now is also linked to your previous question in terms of my background. When you are a product of neglect, when you're a product of injustice, either by the state or its actors, it propels you to want to ensure that you don't perpetuate that same system for people who are coming after you. So I have been a product of total neglect. I have been a product of injustice, you know, in terms of my experience in my background. So it's one of the things pushing me to fight injustice in the sense of what I went through. And I didn't want people close to me to go through it. So that is the thing propelling my drive towards human rights activism and using law, you know, for social engineering. Secondly,
Wow.
Secondly is the issue of philanthropy. I think that if you consider life, when somebody has gotten to a particular status in life, and it's not something that you achieve by your own effort, society pushed you, created opportunities for you to excel on the merit. So when you get to such positions, it's not natural that you look back and give back to that same society that gave you opportunity to rise, you know, in spite of your humble background, in spite of the fact that you used to be a non-entity, and then the opportunities created by society allow you to excel by merit. You also want to give back to society. And I look at it and I discover that I don't have resources, you know, as with politicians or billionaires who have enough resources to pump money to develop their community or sponsor people on scholarship. So I just looked at it that since I don't have the resources, I have talent, which is the knowledge I've acquired through my career of being a lawyer. So I then decided to use that knowledge, you know, as a means of philanthropy to give back to society. So, for instance, I can take up cases of widows. I can take up cases of people who are sacked in their employment. I can take up cases of people who have been detained unjustly. I can take up cases of people who have been denied of one right or the other. And all I need to do in that regard is to use my talent. I already have an office that has been well established. I have lawyers working with me who I'm paying monthly salary. So I can afford to appeal to them once in a while to take up the cases of people who are indigent and who are suffering oppression or injustice. And we can push their cases if they have good cases on the merits. And the only problem is that they don't have money to hire a good lawyer, such as a senior advocate or a senior lawyer who is well experienced. So I can open my doors for them and use the resources that I get from clients who are paying to be able to advance their own causes and not allow them to continue to suffer just for the reason or the fact that they cannot afford the services of a good lawyer. So legal service is quite expensive. To get a good lawyer to do your case in Nigeria is very expensive. So I then decided that I can subsidize, my service to people who are genuinely indigent, and ensure that, you push opportunities for them to get justice. Because as a student in the university, I was expelled in the university and I didn't have enough resources to challenge my expulsion. Chief Ganifawa of blessed memory came to my aid, filed the case on my behalf, and all the other 59 students that were expelled at Law University because of our engagement in students' union activism. And he won the case for us and we were reinstated. So I'm doing what Chief Ganifawa did for me, for other people, so that they can benefit from my service. So even though I'm not being paid for so many of these cases, I feel that is the best way that I can give back to society. That is on one hand. On the second hand is even when individuals who are poor are not involved, I can on my own file some cases when I notice that injustice is prevalent in any aspect of our governance. I can use my own name and my resources to file cases on behalf of the society generally, such as when I file a case to challenge the imposition of toll gates in Lagos State, or when I challenged the issue of environmental sanitation. Nobody came to brief me. I just felt that people are going through a lot of stress already in society. If there are areas where we can reduce their agony, areas where we can reduce their stress, even when nobody briefs me, I can go to court by myself to challenge any illegality of government on behalf of the masses of our people and use my resources to prosecute those kind of cases. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. If there's one thing I must come to actually reckon about you, it is a brilliant way you answer most of our questions, and I must come to reckon that, sir. Thank you so much. I'm aware of the fact that you let most of those things, or you got to discover them via your very good mentor, and which is late Ganifawa and me. I must reckon that. And apart from that, you talked about a lot of things you've done to add value to the system. I think these are the things we need to really uplift Nigeria and bring the kind of change we want in the system. So at this point, I'm going to return the gala of this interview to our very good host to push his questions to our very good guest on the show. So to you, sir.
Thank you, today. I'm just going to do a quick follow-up since we're still talking about our guest background. So how is it, sir, has it been combining activism with your pastoral job? How will you rate the job? I mean, considering the fact that you're operating in Nigeria.
Thank you so very much. Like I answered to Mr. Kimbodere, is that God has been kind to me to ensure that I function in offices that are complementary. The legal profession is a byproduct of divine arrangement by God. Because you will remember that in Genesis chapter 3, it was God that started the issue of court or hearing. When he told Adam and Eve not to eat the forbidden fruit and they ate it, he didn't kill them immediately. He set up a court system and set up charges and asked them, why did you do this? And he allowed them the opportunity to express themselves. And then after expressing themselves, he delivered the judgment. And after delivering the judgment, he executed it by asking them to leave the garden. So it's like that for me, the legal system is a product of the Bible. If you also remember, sometimes in Exodus, the father-in-law of Moses, Jethro, went to meet him. And when he saw the crisis and the burden of people coming to him to seek for resolution of grievances, he advised him to set up courts to handle specific cases, depending on the volume. A court to handle smaller one, another court to handle appeal. So that's actually where we took the judicial system from. So for a person who is a pastor and also a lawyer, the work is complementary, because what we do in pastoral activity is to transform lives, is to get people to accept their wrong, and then also to accept to refrain from continuing that wrong so that they can reconcile with God, going forward. The legal system is also built on redressing injustice, ensuring that people who did what is wrong are brought to book. People who are being cheated are restored.
That's right.
And granted their rights. So the work of a lawyer is complementary with that of a pastor. And I think the general problem that people have is that there's this general thought that the work of a lawyer involves lying, changing facts. When you know black, you call it white. And I think by now we have seen that that is not correct. You don't need to cut corners to practice law. You can practice law in righteousness by saying what it is according to what it is. If I see cases that I think will affect my conviction of faith, I may decline to do it. If I explain to a particular client that what you are doing is wrong, this is the way we can do it, and it does not agree, I have a right to decline to take up the matter if I think that it's going to conflict with my faith or the principles of righteousness that we practice in the Bible. So actually it is complementary, sir. And it's been a wonderful thing to operate in the office of a pastor and also as a lawyer. Wow,
that's very wonderful. I'm going to be following up with this, and this might sound a little controversial, but it seems like you represent our current vice president, a person of Professor Yemi Osinbajo, in the legal matters. How come, if that is true, despite the fact that you don't really agree with the government he serves?
Thank you so very much. I have had acquaintance with His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, whilst he was still a lawyer in private practice. And so we have known ourselves and our families. And he is also a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And so we have had cause to work together, and is somebody that I have known for quite a long time. And we have worked together in the law court also in so many cases. And so the cases for which I represent the vice president are his personal matters. I am not representing him in respect of his official matters. There are cases that relate to him in his personal capacity. Maybe, for instance, he complains that certain stories that were planted concerning him may not be true. And he briefs me to challenge the publishers to justify the story, in that regard. So there's no conflict for me in respect of the briefs that I represent the vice president and the government that he serves. And even if I am representing the government, I will not represent the government in areas where I think the policies may not be right. The fact that probably I'm a counsel to the vice president or even the president does not mean that I cannot disagree with them on certain policies that I consider anti-people. So the fact that one is a lawyer, which was what I mentioned to you earlier, is that you have the duty to act within your conscience and to act in line with what you believe in. So if there are cases that are referred to me, which I think is inconsistent with my personal conviction, I'm not obliged to do them. So I represent the vice president in his personal matters, and there's no conflict of interest whatsoever. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate your answering all our questions. We have some few more questions before we round it up. We know we're a little bit behind. Tunde, can you do some follow-up questions?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I want to appreciate our guests for the brilliant answers to most of our questions. So, but this one is a very short one and a quick one at the same time, sir. I was actually reading through some of your contributions online, intellectual works, as a matter of fact, and I got to a point where I got to discover that you advised young people to go into marriage early in life. And what kind of, exploring to this kind of contribution, I felt you might not have been able to achieve most of those things you've achieved, sir, if you've gone into marriage early, so early in life. So I'd like to ask you, sir, that what was the basis for that kind of opinion? Apart from the fact that you confessed your disappointment in not going into marriage early, I'd like to put it to you that don't you think you might not have been able to go this far in life if you've actually gone into marriage as early as possible, sir?
Thank you so very much. I cannot say yes or no. All I first of all want to say is to give glory to God, for whatever he does for one in life. So whether you marry or you are single, whatever you achieve in life is due basically to the mercy and grace of God Almighty. So it's possible I may have achieved what I've achieved or achieved more, whether I marry or I didn't marry early, but I still give thanks to God with or without marriage for whatever it is that he has done. Now, the reason why I advise young people to get married early is that I feel, based on my own experience, it is not too tidy to be training children at old age. There are certain responsibilities I thought by now I should have overcome. But because of my humble background and the fact that I didn't have the means to sustain a marriage early in life, I could not marry beyond the period when I married, because those who are supporting me, I will be putting them under undue stress if I were to have another baggage when I was just barely existing and begging people to help me to survive. I didn't think it was fair on them, especially my uncle, to just impose another obligation on him by getting involved in marriage. So my reason for advising young people to marry early is to avoid what I'm currently going through in terms of my children are still very young, in spite of the fact that I'm quite old. And then also that I believe that at a particular stage in life, one should invest in himself and take care of himself while you are working for society, while you are working for the church, while you are working for God and working for your family. Once you also find a way towards taking care of himself so that you can plan your retirement, and take care of yourself early in life. So for me, if you have the opportunity, it's good to be committed early so that you can keep struggling along. But above it all, whether you marry or you don't marry, God should be involved in whatever you do, as a child of God. Thank you very much.
Wow. We are actually aware that our guest has a lot of engagements, and we are not willing to take much of our time. But I think this will be the last question from my own end. My very good host might actually have some few questions as a roundup. But I'd like to ask you, this question is a contextual question. It has to do with the state of the Nigerian system, nation, as a matter of fact. What do you think is the current state of Nigeria as a country?
Thank you so very much. I have faith in the country. We're going through challenges now presently, but I believe that with good leadership, given the resources that Nigeria has, material resources, human resources combined, there's no reason why we shouldn't be one of the greatest nations on earth. And so my conviction is that there's a reason why God created Nigeria the way he has created the nation, with the resources. And we should try to encourage those who aspire to public office to use their position to galvanize Nigerians together. If we can just give electricity, maybe if not even 24 hours, maybe 20 hours, the economy of this country will skyrocket. If just electricity everywhere in Nigeria. So I think that the problem is all just about leadership. If we get right people in office who are selfless and who have the hearts of the masses of our people, this is a great nation that other nations will have to contend with. But it's unfortunate where we are currently, given the state of insecurity, the state of infrastructure, and of course, the general suffering that is going on in the land. I don't think everybody is very happy, but I think we shouldn't lose hope. We should believe that with good leadership, Nigeria will be one of the best nations around. And I know you asked me before now, and I thought that I should mention it. I did inform you that I wasn't willing to speak concerning NSAS matter. I know you asked me. And the reason is because I went there to serve Nigeria. I've done my duty, and for me, my assignment is completed. I don't want to continue in the controversy. Whatever government does with whatever we have done is left for government. I will just appeal to Nigerians at the appropriate time. Everybody will know the truth of what happened. So that's why I said I didn't want to speak on NSAS, not because one is afraid or one is dodging the issues, but I believe that as one who sat on the panel and have acted as a judge, I have concluded my assignment. I leave the rest to government and the people of Nigeria, what happens to the NSAS panel. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. But sir, don't you just think, there have been a lot of arguments as to reasons why we should secede. Most of those regional groups are clamoring for secession, and they felt that can actually be a solution to the problem of this country. Do you think that is actually right? Or do you think it can actually remedy the problem of Nigeria as of now, sir?
I believe in the unity of the country, that we are better when we're together, but nonetheless, I am a lawyer. The law grants right to self-determination to every race, every person who so desires. In the laws of the United Nations, African Charter on Human and People's Rights grants the right to self-determination. So if any group of people feel aggrieved and they don't feel to become part of Nigeria, I don't think that we should force them or to continue to prosecute or persecute them by the reason of the fact that they are making agitation for self-determination. But I believe in the unity of Nigeria. But I respect the rights of those who are campaigning for self-determination.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. I think this is going to be the last question from my end this evening. I want to especially appreciate you for coming around, but I will throw the gala of the interview down to my very good host to conclude as we wrap up.
Thank you.
Thank you today. So yes, sir. We want to ask the final question, which is going to be, what is your counsel to everyone that is going to be watching live and that's going to watch our post-production? What's your counsel for Nigeria, considering the situation that we are in right now?
Thank you so very much. My own counsel is to the leaders, because indeed, once Nigerians are very loyal people, what they ask for leadership is not so much. Give us good roads, give us good school, give us functional healthcare, give us electricity. Let there be protection for people. Let people be able to sleep with their two eyes closed. The primary purpose of government is the security and welfare of the people. And I don't think Nigerians are asking too much of this or any other government that may come. So I believe that my own counsel would be to our leaders to please be concerned with the welfare and security of our people. We don't ask too much. But at the same time, I also encourage Nigerians to develop love, to develop a sense of togetherness, to encourage ourselves, to dwell together, and not to dwell on areas that tend to divide us in terms of tribe, religion, and those other things that seem to provoke, the embers of crisis and distrust amongst us. I believe also I need to encourage young people. There is no shortcut to life. The microwave generation is not something I can encourage anybody to do. Yes, it's good to aspire. It's good to be smart, but success has no shortcut. For me, success is achieved when good opportunity, when good planning, proper preparation meets good opportunities. Keep learning, keep preparing yourself, keep hoping. Surely one day an opening will come that will make you to indeed hit your target. We should continue to fear God, precept upon precept, little by little, advancing here and there, and believing in yourself and trusting the Almighty God. surely, surely, one day will come when, one will be able to say, God has helped me thus far. So I want to encourage our younger people not to give up at all and keep hoping alive that one day we will get to our destination. Thank you so very much, sir.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. And I want to thank all of our viewers. And that is the end of today's show. And I want to thank my co-host also, Tunde. Thank you for doing a good job. And sir, thank you so much. And we hope to invite you again to our live section. And I hope we're going to honor it too.
Thank you so very much. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.